that dark.
So fantastic! Thanks very much for joining this week on my show. And I know we've got some viewers from the States joining in. So hope you're having a good day. It's 8 o'clock in the UK and obviously 12 p.m. in California. So we have got some colleagues on from America. Well, welcome. This week, as advertised, I've got my very, very good friend, Mr. Ian Timothy. Ian, how are you doing?
How are you, Darren? I am exceptionally well and happy, and life's just good.
Good. Well, I know you're a very busy guy, so I'm really pleased that that I've been able to.
I am. Yes. For me, this disastrophe that is happening at the moment actually has turned out to be pretty good because I've got so many things done. Of course, as you know, I've decided to sell all of my possessions and absolutely everything, and it's so refreshing. I've sold things that have been next to my side for years, cameras and audio equipment, and I just feel so blessed that I've taken that major step of freeing myself from possessions.
Well, we've got just a quick shout out. We've just got Gary Witt, who
Good
is
evening, Gary.
The Urban Monk. He's joining us tonight. Says hello.
Very much enjoyed his work and the power of the now and the now that he was talking about. Very, very good. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, Gary.
Gary's a fantastic guy, and we're just about to do a podcast with Gary on Saturday, actually. So
excellent. I shall be there and hassle you both.
Absolutely. I just want to say a big hello to Lisa from Blue Hour, and she's all the way in Massachusetts. So hi, Lisa. It's been great.
Hi, Lisa. Good evening to you, or good day.
Yeah, and then Gary's just said hi as well again. So thanks for the shout out. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of, before we kind of get to it, I think it might be quite useful just to kind of give a bit of context in, if that's all right. I mean, I don't know if you're okay with it, but obviously, besides all the things you do, it's no secret you and I have known each other for a very, very long time, and we cut our teeth performing on stage. So if it's okay with you, I'm just going to kind of show a little bit of a clip of a show that we did.
Let me know when it's over. Well, good evening to you all, and I am indeed Ian Timothy. Let's see if we can all say, and you can repeat after me, Martha, have you a message for Ian? Martha, have you got a message for Ian? And let us see if indeed we have. So, what's the message? It says, Ian, stop talking about me and get on with the show. And my grandfather, Ben, has also given you all your tipsters Grand Gigolo at Market Raisin, 3 o'clock tomorrow. It's worth a tenner, I can tell you. I bet on that horse and it lost.
Oh no, you can't do one. So that was a show that Ian and I did quite a few years ago now. When was that? 2015, Ian? Something?
It was, and what an event! 380 people in the audience, and every single one loved you and booed me.
Oh, maybe that's because when you revealed the writing, yes, I mean the audience gasp.
It was good. I liked it when I got the Derringer out. I've still got that Derringer,
Have you?
Yeah.
I've got a few more trips down memory lane as well. This is when I did my TED talk, and you and I, naughty boys in London.
Wow, that was great. Now I can say something about that TEDx talk for anybody who is watching us. That audience, there were a full house in the University of London Theatre, and there were quite a number of people who were watching, and there was quite a number of people who entertained and gave their pitch for that day. And without a doubt, Mr. Darren Stanton got the standing ovation. They did, didn't they? They stood up and standing. It was amazing. The creme de la creme. And do you know what, listeners and watchers? They ballsed up the cameras and we didn't get the footage.
Yeah, well, we've got some footage. Some of it's live, yeah.
Oh dear. Such is life. Such is life. It was. You were that day. I can tell you without a shred of a doubt, you were really on fire. You were brilliant, Darren.
Oh,
absolutely brilliant. Yes.
I really appreciate that.
I'll put the invoice in the post. I think a tenner.
Yeah.
To get my money back off the horse I lost.
Absolutely. And then just say a quick shout out to Claire.
Hi, Claire.
What's your name there? Guichard?
Guichard, yes. Claire, wonderful lady. What a fantastic writer. Need any short, incisive and very, very thought-provoking articles for your work, go to Claire. She's fabulous.
Fantastic. And then we'll just get a little plug in, because obviously you didn't know I was going to do this, but obviously the other thing that you're very well known for, besides all your other stuff we're going to discuss, is you're a very accomplished author, aren't you? You've got is it 6 books or more? You're right. I culled my amount of books that I published. I was 10, and they weren't very successful, but I now have 6. Never Let Anything Worry You, of course, is the pinnacle, the one that's at the top. That is a book that's never ending. It's had at least 7 editions in its 8 or 9 years that I've put it out on Kindle. I don't print it anymore for the simple reason that I evolve it. It's on my computer, and I know the chapters so well, they evolve. So as nature changes and as our lives change and as I progress, I mean, I'm in my 60th decade, my 6th decade, my 60 plus now. My dynamic and the way that I think about things has changed immensely. The book has been incredibly successple for me. I would guide anybody to put together a decent book. I was going to bring that up. People can. It is. I mean, this is. Let me see if I can find the book cover. So this is. That's very successful, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's 30,000 Kindle downloads. Wow. And some days I love it because I'll have a look at my little KDP account, and it's earned me, I don't know, the staggering sum of 30 quid overnight, which can't be too bad, but it's wonderful. I know that's not a great deal of money to a lot of people, but I live quite frugally. I'm not really interested in money of any shape or form. But a couple of good books under your belt on Kindle, if you're earning, say, £60, £70 a day out of them, which is entirely feasible, adds up and can give you a nice pension. So tap those keys. Don't think about it. Do it.
Absolutely. If I do look down, everyone, it's just I'm checking the control panel because it's at a different eye level, so I'm not being rude. Just going
to carry on.
Go on. Quick hi to Rochelle. Rochelle's lovely lady who used to do the empowering events. I think you've met her, Ian. And she's saying she watched the clip the other day of you.
Did she? What did you think, Rochelle? Was it okay? Didn't scare you too much? You didn't have nightmares?
Oh, there was some roulette. And then
Oh my
we've got the boss
goodness.
on. Oh, the boss has said hi as well.
That Russian roulette's too dangerous. I can see me taking you one day to the outpatients with a thing through your hand, do.
So Liz has just commented, "Hey, you two." So that's what I said. The boss was on.
Oh my goodness. Keep it clean, Dee. Don't talk about the times we've had in London. Bonnie Langford's boyfriend is here.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And then Gary just said, "Changing your book is absolutely living in the now. Change things daily. I'm rewriting my book daily, as each moment is different."
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And I think the more that you are prepared to look at the things that you've done and make them better, if you do that with your writing or you do that with your podcasts or whatever you produce, the more that you're prepared to dedicate yourself to make them better, the better you feel in here. There's no better reward than being self-fulfilled. You see, to me, when people say I want to have a Porsche or I want to have a big house and whatever, that's a projection of something that's going to give them happiness. But to me, if I've got a computer, an iPad, and a camera, I can be in absolute oblivion. I don't need anything other than that. So I don't need to earn a lot of money because I don't need a great deal. And I'm privileged. I know that I'm privileged as a human being to have that attitude.
Absolutely. So I think obviously we kind of set a bit of context in terms of some of the stuff that you do. And I know obviously you're a very accomplished photographer, but what I want to get to is just really in terms of the philosophies that you've got towards business and life. And as you've said, Ian, that, it's not all about having physicality. It's not all about, because you and I both know some very wealthy people and they're not happy, are they?
Well, I do know some who are extraordinarily happy.
Oh, okay.
To have a lot of money doesn't negate happiness. It's an illusion to think that that's the case. But they are generally self-made people, and they're people who are still very astute, and they think very carefully. You see, my philosophy is this: my work, for example, the businesses that Liz and I run are community driven, and it takes a lot of head work for people to get around what we do, because we get pleasure out of people succeeding on the work that we do. We like to share. Lizian Events is a business that organises shows, and people come to the shows to sell their wares or to demonstrate their skills or to project themselves to promote their work. And they turn up, people arrive, they do their work and they leave. But we also have a conduit, which is Lizian Events News, which is 365 days a year. And people can put information, if they so choose, about what they do. I know you've written some fabulous articles for Lizian Events News. Well, they are, I mean, some of those have had views of 2,000 to 3,000 people have read them. I know that from the statistics, so that they're really, really good. So we've got this central unit of information, a conduit of information that is used by everybody who we work with. We are not profit driven. We pay ourselves. I pay myself a small salary out of one of the businesses and Liz out of another one of the businesses. All of the rest of the profit goes back into the limited liability companies, and it enables us to support the community who support us. For example, when the C-19 disastrophe is a mix of the word disaster and catastrophe, so disastrophe, when that happened, we had a lot of people who had paid us stand fees, and we could have used one of the clauses in our contract to say, we don't really have to pay you this money back. We'll hold it over till next year and whatever. But we chose immediately, literally immediately, to pay everybody back every single penny that they had paid us. It made us feel enriched in ourselves. It freed us from any obligation to feel that we were doing down people, and everything that we do is of that type of standing. And I'm very proud that that's the case. I haven't got a problem whatsoever with saying that if you're going to do something that's community driven, because that's really what you're asking me, isn't it? You're asking me, where is my philosophy?
That was the next question. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's got any questions, obviously please jump in and post a comment. I mean, I think the thing is, obviously, like yourself, I spent many years on the mind, body, and spirit circuit. Where I kind of got my experience of dying a death on stage sometimes, and just learning and developing. And people think you just sort of drop out the sky, don't they? But it's a long journey.
Well, it is, Dee, because I think what happens is there are so many people in this world reading gurus and people who are offering the stairway to heaven, the stairway to the stars, the stairway to wealth. And, that isn't for everybody. To want to become wealthy, to want to become rich, to want to have everything, the big house, the big car, to have all of that is a big journey, and it takes a lot of effort. Unless you win the lottery, then everything that you achieve is going to be a hard slog. We can't be Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, right place, right time. Same as Bill Gates. And I'm not demeaning anything that they've done. But the thing about it is a whole sequence of events put them into exactly the right place for them to succeed. The same with Richard Branson and anybody of that ilk. A sequence of events put them where they are. Coca-Cola, massive company. So if you want to become rich, it's a waste of time you following the idea of how Coca-Cola present themselves and promote themselves, or it's a waste of time even following the masters such as Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Branson, or all of these people. It's a complete and utter waste of time following. You've got to follow from your own heart. And the first thing that you need to do, to my mind, is that you need to contemplate what you really want in life. You can have an enriching life in a small house with a second-hand car that you look after that's 10 years old, with a beautiful wife and 2 children, and look after your garden, and you can have the most fabulous life just living so simplistically. And not everybody wants to have this, but society and the way that society is driven has led young people, and many people believe it's their right to be rich and it's their right to have everything, and that should be theirs by default. So there we are.
Yeah, and I know that obviously a lot of the other sort of events, sort of organisers and things like that, they've got a very different model. And I know that you kind of reinvented that model, didn't you, from business, or you kind of reinvented the whole thing in terms of really in terms of community and moving towards building a tribe.
Well, that's very insightful, actually, Dean. A very, very good observation. I suppose we are tribe-like. You see, to me, if you're going to have any organisation, so say you could be running a business, a tribal influence will work. If you are prepared to allow everybody, and you've got the balls, because this is hard work to do this. You've got to be strong. You've got to be confident. There's no room for weakness or lacking confidence. You've got to be committed to it, because if you start to expose the very bones, the bare bones of your business to people, then you can soon get people who perhaps don't believe what you're doing is right. Some people will question your ethic. They'll say, well, nobody works like that. Nobody puts their money back in. Nobody keeps the prices low, etc., etc. But that's what we do. Because you see, to me, I mean, one of my things, I've got it written by here. Most people notice that power is one-way traffic. The more you take from others, the more you have, and the less other people have. But community is abundant. The more you give to others, the more you get back.
And yeah, that's Claire's just said that. That's exactly it. And I guess, having said that, Ian, have you found any sort of people that weren't happy to kind of go with it, almost like there was in their ways?
Of course, Darren. We're all of us are unique individuals, and just because you are right doesn't mean that people don't see you as doing wrong, and just because you're wrong doesn't mean that people don't see you as doing right. So what happens for us, our biggest problem being community-based, or anything where you're being balanced and you're doing a cooperative, if you like, sharing about. There's two things you've got to remember is, if you've got 100 people on the floor, that's 100 individual people who have rented space from you. Not all of them are going to have the same political, social views. Everybody's going to have different views. So that's the first thing. But what happens for us is, because we have so much, because we're so visible, people have a high expectation of what they're going to get when they go to the show. And this is where the community balance comes in. So over the last 4 years, since we've really started to hype it up, we've had 180 different people who have stood with us at the events. And out of those 180 people, at least 40 have either closed down their business or do not want to work with us. Now, this is the crux. Because they have anticipated more, most of them have anticipated more than what actually the reality is there. And that's where you fall down. So the transparency is absolutely important to do this if you're going to do something that's community-based. And you also have to understand that some people always are looking for ulterior motive. Yeah, they're always looking for it, which you know all about as a psychologist.
They project their own sort of mindset, don't they?
Yeah, so if you're saying, well, you know, we are lowering the price of our stands because we've a profit, they will turn around and say, oh, they're not getting enough people in because they're lowering the stands. That's why they're lowering the stands fee, because they're not getting the throughput. But I could absolutely tell you that we have got lists of people who want to stand with us, you know, so, but we believe to give people a better chance to earn money is where we get our reward. I'm not saying that we don't earn money. I'm not saying that we don't have profits. We need to have those to buy the equipment and to cover our overheads and to pay our tax bills and things of that nature. We need to have all of that. So people misinterpret that as well, Darren. They think, oh, well, you know, they're making a lot of money. They can't be that community-minded. They didn't help me out when I got in trouble. They didn't do that. Well, some people we have helped out, and other people we choose perhaps not to help because of they're not very fair by us. It's to give and take. Community-driven, very, very difficult. Very, very difficult.
No, absolutely. I mean, we'll kind of carry on with this in a sec, but Rick Paul's just saying, evening, guys, sorry I'm late. So Rick Paul.
Hello, Rick.
If we've not met in our secret rendezvous point for some time, have a Rick? Private joke. And then also, I want to say a big hi to my friend Laura Beach from Scotland. Her and her husband David.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, some fantastic people. You click with them instantly. Very genuine people like Lizian. So I'll connect with them because they're you know, interested in terms of coming up and stuff. So I've just got my list of questions here. I was going to ask you. So how have you dealt? You must have had at some point kind of conflicts. I know, you know, you're like me. You're not a sort of person to sort of lose your temper. So I'm just curious how you've dealt with any sort of personal agendas that might have occurred. If that's okay.
Well, of course, Darren, there will be conflicts in everything that we do. There will always be conflicts. You don't have a healthy, you know, you can have personal conflicts. You can have self-conflicting thoughts within your mind. I want to do that, but I can't do this. I want to make a decision, but I daren't do it. They're conflicts, but of course there will be conflicts. But these are healthy. All conflict is healthy.
Yeah.
And as every family knows, conflict can be either clear. It can either clear the air or it can be seeds of fragmentation. It can ruin the family talk forever, but it's you learn from it. But what important thing is this with conflicts? Those who rise above the issues indicate an adult perspective of their lives. Falling into the trap of opposition indicates childish behaviour. And as time goes by, with this community type work that we have, it grows into a robust and influential body of people respected by all they work with. So in other words, what I'm saying is we will have conflicts. And there will people who will never resolve the conflict and they will leave the community. But the people who stay and rise above the complex, seeing that what we are building, which are platforms which are profitable to trade from, they see those as more important than the slight conflicts that happen. Ultimately, they're the people who succeed. So conflicts, yes, we get them, but it's how we deal with them. Now, I would say something to you that some people would not like. We do have a policy that if somebody makes an inaccurate statement about our work, we are very robust in replying to the derogatory statements, even to the extent that we will send out to all of the people we work with all of the emails that went over the conflict, so everybody can make their own mind up. Because you see, if you're in a community, then all of the people who are working with you are contributing to the whole. They are contributing to the whole. When Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream," his I was all of the people that he wanted to be free, and to be free of racism, and to live in freedom. That was his I. It wasn't him, it was everybody. So it's important that all of those people who have invested many, many, many hours into making the shows work, and they're the people who spend their money with us and work with us, it's important that their investment is protected. And that's, so if there is a conflict, it isn't buried under the table, it's out in the open.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then Laura just said hello to you.
Hi.
If anyone has any questions, please feel free. I mean, if there's somebody watching right now, Ian, and they're thinking about setting something up, you know, there might be a one-man band, or they might be looking to sort of do some sort of events or something. What would be your kind of top, maybe, you know, couple of fundamentals that you think would be vital to kind of succeed in? You know, what would be your top few things?
From my perspective, we are in a world that is completely connected. It is so wonderful. I mean, when you're in America, I have often sat in my bed when I can't sleep, hit my Mac and spoken to you face to face. I mean, that's magic. That is absolute magic. So we have within our grasp, within our pocket, for me, it's an iPhone, an iPad, and an iMac, and a Fuji camera. With those 4 items, I can build a business. It doesn't make any difference whether it is selling stalls at a event, or whether it's selling motor cars or cameras or whatever it is. With those tools, I can connect to everything and everybody. And the mastery, being able to use those tools, is simply superb. It's incredible. 20 years ago, Darren, if you and I wanted to connect to people, you go onto local advertisements in the local newspaper. You would, oh, crikey, let's put Yellow Pages and go bankrupt putting an advertisement in there. You'd beg, squeal and borrow your friends to publicise yourself, and you got your business going. But it was today, you can go worldwide with anything if you so wish. If you want to do digital downloads or write a book or something of that nature. But people should look at you, Darren, to see how hard you have to work. But let me come back to answer your question. So with 3 items, an iPhone, an iPad, and an iMac, I can communicate with the whole of the world and tell them my story.
Yeah.
If you want to run your business, or you want to project yourself, or you want to promote yourself, you can do it, but you need to be spending, like you do, and like I do, because you and I were talking at 3 o'clock this morning about something. You need to be committed to it, and you need to be able to learn how to use those tools. So while you get somebody goes to work, they dream about being a photographer, and they think, well, they're on their lathe, or they're driving their truck, or they're doing their negotiation. They dream about being a photographer. So what they do is they come home, they spend hours glued at a screen, trying to find the best angle, to do the best they possibly can. They spend hundreds of pounds a year on Photoshop, learning how to do it. Me, I just got an 8-year-old Fuji, well, you know how old my Fujis are, and my lenses and whatever. And my old Mac was 10 years old. My new one's new, but it's a different story. I've been selling a lot of stuff, so I reinvested. But I've learnt to utilize the tools that I've got. And that's the key. If I want to make a video, I can use iMovie or Final Cut Pro. I'm not 100% competent, but I'm adequate. If I want to take a photograph of you or me or all the photographs that are on our website, I can do it. I don't need to worry about the equipment. I can use the iPhone if I want to. My iPhone is you can use all of those tools. So the conduits to communication are there for you to use. You don't need to be a genius. They don't have to be the best. People are acceptant. I mean, for goodness sake, Mojo Journalism now, journalists all over the world are producing news articles on the spot using their iPhones. Anna Breeze is a perfect example. She teaches you how to do it, no problem. Look at Mojo. So there's no problem with getting the communication. So if you're then going to set up a business, you have to have here in your heart what you are going to do. If you want to be an actor, then you know you're going to have to suffer. It's the rites of passage.
Absolutely.
You know, look at you, Dee. When you chose to leave the police force, you left a job that was secure, it had a pension, it had all sorts of things. And I can remember you said to me, what do you think I should do? And your parents had died very close together. You were in absolute turmoil. And you made a decision for your future that nobody else would have done. You sold the family house. And you reinvested the money into some property development, which you earn money from, and you took the bull by the horns. And you knew full well you could have lost a lot, but you never, ever stopped. So my advice is you have the communication tools, find out what you want to do, learn absolutely everything that there is to know about your chosen profession, and then start to let people know that you can do it. That's the key. And the less people that you employ, the freer that you are. That's the point. I mean, I remember that we listened to somebody tell us that story, and it's a very well-known story, and it was a lecturer in a university, and he's looking at all of his students in the lecture room, and he says, what do you want to do when you retire? I want to have a diving school. What do you want to do when I retire? Oh, I want to have a beautiful livery stable with my horses. What do you want to have? I want to have the most beautiful guest house on the coast with people coming in. And he looks around the room after they've all answered what they want to do, and he says, so why the hell are you doing here studying law? You know, so for me, if you're going to work, and the other thing, if you want to work for yourself, be prepared to tell people, I have a full-time job, and this is what I'm doing on the side. This is another job. This is what I want. And ask people for help, because people will give help. They really will do.
I'll just mention this comment that Laura's put on there. She put, this is why Clubhouse, if people aren't aware of Clubhouse, it's a brand new app. And it's literally you're in separate, different rooms talking to people from all over the world. It is a fantastic way of connecting, and again, I've connected with a lot of people this week. But
I've applied.
I've applied. Yeah, you've got it. I'll sort you out. It's coming. It's in the post. But this is why you're obviously right, Ian. I mean, it's like you know what? I was thinking about this when you were talking, and it's, if I think back, 2004, I can remember signing up to Yellow Pages, right? And it used to be like that. If you went in there, that's what they used to say. I mean, I paid about £2,000 out, and I got about 2 phone calls in a year. This is before the explosion of the internet. And you put your business cards out, or you put an advert in the corner shop, hypnosis and things like that. But this is just a digital version of that, isn't it, really?
But you see, I think the biggest restriction to success, is the fear of failure. To me, if you said to me, what do you want out of your business? And I said, I don't want anything. You'd say, what do you mean? And if you said to me, what do you think about money? And I say, well, I don't care about money. But it gives me the freedom to do as I want to do. Now, you see, I've seen this, and you have seen this. In my 40 years of working, I've seen it so many times. I've seen people start a business, it becomes quite profitable, and then they go and buy a bigger house because they're earning £1,000 a week, and they buy a car on the knock, and all of a sudden their £1,000 a week has diminished to nothing, and they're working to buy the car and the house. But if they'd taken stock and just gone frugal and had less, what did Felix Denick say? I'm sorry, everybody, if it flies.
He's a favourite poet of ours, isn't he? A publisher.
Yeah. If it flies, dries, or has sex, rent it. That's what he used to say. But the point is this: if you want success in your heart, then you will have to make sacrifices. You will have to wear the jeans for another year. You'll have to have a frayed collar. You'll have to have your shoes repaired. You'll have to look after your motor car, and instead of driving it down the motorway at 90, drive it at 65 so the engine doesn't get knackered. You will have to make these sacrifices. And if you're not prepared to do so, well, do the right thing and go and get a job and work a fantastic job and give your very best to a business, and you'll thrive. You'll thrive.
On a separate note, David's got 5 invites, so he can give you one, and also Claire's got an invite. So you're sort of on the clubhouse front.
Thank you so much. I will be forever. I will be forever in your debt.
That's shit. And I've got David. I've got Laura's message, so I'll give you guys a shout in a bit. So what I want to talk about now, Ian, is, again, I've had this, as you know. The more successful you become, and the same applies to you. I'll give you an example. I discontinued a friendship with a certain person. Now, in the last few months, I've had quite a few inquiries for work for TV, which turned out to be non-existent. So one was apparently the BBC, and my agent contacted them, X, Y, and Z, and they don't exist. So somewhere along the line, I'm not saying it's this person because I have no evidence, but somebody out there obviously has got an issue with me, so they think it's quite a jolly jape to send emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, and as if I'm not going to do the due diligence and just sort of turn up.
But let me tell you, it's failed because we are here laughing about it.
Yeah, exactly. It is hilarious. But what I'm alluding to is I don't know if you have or not, but have you had any sort of, it sounds a big word, but any espionage? Have you had people coming in trying to see what you're doing and trying to get the...
Oh, let them get on with it. I don't know why they want to come in and have espionage. All they need to do is email them in. I'll tell them everything they need to know. Because the point is this, Dee. Nobody can be Darren Stanton. Nobody can be Ian Timothy. Nobody can be any of the guests on your show. So if you've got a situation where somebody wants to emulate or copy you, then let them get on with it, because they can only ultimately do it in their way, not your way. And if you are first and you are exemplary, then they've got a bloody mountain to climb to even get near to where you're at. So encourage, if somebody wants to infiltrate your business and want to find out how to do it, give them everything. Give them the lot.
Yeah.
If you want them to fail, because they will not do it in your own way. And unless you have your own you see, we have mental formulas. You and I have spent many, many, many hours, thousands upon thousands of miles driving up and down the motorways of this country.
Yeah.
And we have had conversations about everything. And let's be clear, you and I were diametrically opposed about the Brexit thingy.
Yeah.
But we didn't fall out over it. We just said, well, fair enough, that's the way it is. But when it comes to something, their opinions, we can't do anything about. But if you think somebody's going to jeopardize or steal from you and it worries you, then I would be worried about the people who are trying to steal, because that's what it is, steal, theft, steal your ideas. I would be more worried about why you're concerned, and I would be working to bolster up my integrity, not in the bottom of a vodka bottle, which I used to do a lot of, but I'd be strengthening myself to say, look at what I've achieved. Look at what you've achieved. Look how fantastic you are. And if you want what I'm doing, that's evidencing that what I'm doing is better than you.
And David's just said Ian Timothy or Ian Fleming, espionage specialist.
It's true. But I think, you know, to
Yeah,
me,
absolutely right. Yeah, it's laughing. Yeah, I mean, initially when I first started out, you get all angst about it. But I've often said to you, and you know, if I ever got something, if I ever did anything that somebody thought it was worth blackmailing me for, I'd just say, well, I'm not aware of that. But if you think you've got something, I suggest you should put it all over the media, because I love PR me. Yeah, there's no such-
I'd love somebody to blackmail me. I would. Get it out of, oh, you know, Ian Timothy, axe murderer.
Well, it's a time to jog
You know,
on.
you'd get everybody talking about it. But yeah, but the thing is this: when you consider that aspect of things with people, what they don't understand is, while they're trying to affect you or damage your reputation, people are very, very, very peculiar. So what will happen, Darren, is this: X will go up to somebody and say, have you heard about that bastard Ian Timothy? Have you heard what he's done? And God knows what else. And that person who's listening to it go, yeah, it's really terrible. And in their mind, they're thinking, well, you're right, Pratt, for telling me. You see, people don't really reveal their true thoughts, do they?
No.
And we can example this with the Brexit. Everybody thought that it was going to be a rollover and we'd stay in Europe. But when it came to it, people were in shock, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's and so you don't, and it's like everybody thought that the Labour Party. I'm not political. I'm just using psychological thoughts. Where did all these people come to who voted for the Conservatives? I bet you can't find a one who would admit to doing it now. But what I'm saying to you is this: gossip and people who are trying to undermine you are of no significance whatsoever, because the people that they're speaking to may not agree with them, even though outwardly they're saying they do. They damage themselves so much. You know, encourage people to knock you, encourage people to damn you. And then when it all comes, you know, all fine and dandy and you're going well, then the person involved looks even a bigger prat, don't they?
Totally.
Yeah, have no fear.
Funny, sorry.
Have no fear about being assaulted or insulted. You can only benefit from it.
I've just found a picture, actually.
Is this blackmail picture? Is it? Yeah. I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
What, £5? That's what I was saying to you, wasn't it?
£5?
I don't know anything about £5.
But I think Laura's just made a comment that she couldn't believe it when she watched it. The fact that the result went the way it did.
But you see, there we are, Lauren. You see, because that's that thing of perception, isn't it? We perceive and we've got it all weighed up, and then woof, the outcome is undermined, and we feel aghast that we're not actually aghast at the result. In truth, we're aghast that we got it wrong.
Well, Lizian just posted caption competition, captions on a postcard from that photo of me and you.
Yeah, it'd be good. It would. But you see, we know what we were talking about that particular afternoon, don't we?
Exactly. So also, another big one for you, Ian, is, I mean, if you've got any questions for Ian, just, he's massively experienced. He's had lots of different businesses in the past as well. Always been very successful. I've
had a few failures.
Yeah,
I've had a few failures. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of your failures.
My biggest failure was when I owed Customs and Revenue a six-figure sum, and basically it went into the hands of the collector at Liverpool. And if you get your hands into the hands of the collector, we're talking many, many years ago. Yeah. If you get your hands into the hands of the collector at Liverpool, I'm sorry, it's serious stuff. And they're not, and they're taking they're coming with sabres and flintlocks and handcuffs. That was a dark day. Very, very difficult. And I knew that I was going to lose everything. And I did lose everything. I didn't go bankrupt, but I lost everything. But I did something that freed me from it. It totally freed me from it. Because as you know, I like a pint of beer, Guinness, very nice. I go into my local pub that I used to go into most evenings, and somebody said to me, "How are you going?" I said, terrible. I'm going to lose everything. I said, what? I said, yeah, everything's going to go. I'm going to lose the lot. And I did. I lost everything. And I mean, when I say everything, I mean everything. I lost it all. It all went. But, you know, it didn't make any difference to anybody because I told them all. There was no gossip. I told them, you know, so, and I was free. I was free of it.
Well, David makes a good point here. It's not to cut you off, because David and Laura, they were in their own distillery producing rum and whiskey in the Highlands. So I went up there.
Yes, I remember you told me. Yes, you were very
and it's just put there. So you got fined by HMRC. I mean, they had a nightmare with them. They were constantly riding them for, you know, various paperwork, and so it can't be a nice place to be, really.
Well, it can't. I think the thing is, with anything where authority is concerned, you are completely powerless. You do have the recourse to law, you have the recourse to statute, you have the recourse to the ideas that they're putting forward to you. But at the end of the day, you feel helpless. But once you can remove yourself or negate the idea of possession from your inner being, then it becomes easier. You know, you've heard me say this. You know, people say to me, you know, what's your ambition? And I'll say, I haven't got one. People say to me, how would you run a business? And I'll say, properly. People say to me, how do you live your life? And I'll say, I upset people. Because as you know, Darren, I do upset people. I am more than capable of saying to somebody, that's enough. And you see, you cannot possibly be liked by everybody.
Yeah.
It's not ever going to happen. And there are many, many millions of people on this earth. And you will find people who will gel with you, and you will find people who care for you and love you, and you will find people who are inspirational. You know, our friend Campbell Wallace, the most inspiring man you could ever wish to meet. I spoke to that
just give a quick plug for his book here, because it deserves it. It's such a fantastic man.
Darren, talking about Cam Wallace.
Yeah. Campbell
Wallace is a man I've known for many years who had emphysema, and his lungs were just literally destroyed. And he was given an opportunity for a lung transplant, but the doctor said to him, you've got to put on weight. So he fought and fought and fought. And he hadn't put the weight on to have the double lung transplant. And he just said to him, give me this effing transplant because I deserve it. And he was let down twice and with the donors. And I spoke to him at Christmas about 6 years ago at Gorton Monastery. And he sat in his motor car and he said to me, Ian, if I don't get my transplant within a week, I'm dead. And if you saw it, he was literally a skeleton. He literally was. And a miracle happened. He got his lung transplant, went through this, and his book, Second Chance. If you want to read a real life, 101% inspiration, read Campbell Wallace's Second Chance, because he tells you the truth. You know, when you're facing a double lung transplant and you can't catch your breath and your body's completely alkalized, we're not talking about alkalized diet, you're being poisoned, you're dying, you can't, zero oxygen coming in there, you're in a desperate place. If you met that man today, he goes all over the world buying his stock, he's alive, he's vibrant, he gives to everybody, magic. He's, you know.
The thing is, Ian, right, I'm not saying anyone deserves to be here, because I wouldn't wish on anybody, but you know, like yourself, he is one of these people in life. He's just a fantastic person.
Well, if you watch Steve Jobs's, as you know, I don't worship Steve Jobs, but I've read every single article you could ever wish to get about him. I don't have an understanding of him, but I have a knowledge of what he is because he fascinates me. But the most inspiring thing that you can watch of Steve Jobs is his Stanford speech. 15 minutes of pure heaven, and it always makes me smile because people say Steve Jobs' last words. Well, they weren't. They were the things that he said in the Stanford speech.
I use that as part of one of my lectures. It's just
absolutely incredible. You know, he talks about his pancreatic cancer, and of course he didn't crack it in the end, but he was so honest, a man with such integrity about it. But of course, you know, when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, you can look at Steve Wozniak, who is Steve Jobs' partner. I mean, what did he do? They set up Apple together, and when they went onto the stock market overnight, Steve Jobs, his parents, and Steve Wozniak became worth about $60 million each with their shareholders. What did Steve Wozniak do? He paid a lot of debts off for his family and left the business. He said to Steve, "Pay me out, I'm going." And he's now a lecturer in computer sciences at Boston University. He'd got enough, agreed, but all he wanted to do was follow his path. I mean, that's power. It's incredible power. And, you know, to have that conviction. But in that Stanford speech, what does Steve Jobs say? He was at his happiest when he had nothing, when he went to India, when he was following his course, when he was doing the things that really he loved. They were his happiest days. And now he says in the speech, doesn't it? Now I have my wife and my beautiful children and I have a fantastic business. You know, those thoughts, I think that he knew. When I watched that Stanford speech, I have a suspicion that he knew because he does say, now my cancer's gone, but I think he had a suspicion that it wouldn't be the end of it.
I think so. Liz has just posted Campbell's link as well, Ian, so it's campbellwallace.org. Second chance. No, absolutely.
Definitely worth watching it.
It's a fantastic speech to watch. And then just want to kind of begin to bring things back together because we've got about 10 minutes, just in terms of the tribe. Because I know a big thing about Lizian events that's different to other organisations is everyone. It's all about sharing and helping each other, isn't it? Whereas, and I've done plenty of events in the past where literally you pay your money, you take your chance, you know, and certain organisers just literally take the money and do a little bit of PR, but they don't really put any emphasis on the.
Well, I can't really speak for what any other person does with their business. Whatever people do with their business is entirely their own affair. However they run their business is entirely their own affair. But ultimately, they will fall or rise by their ethical and moral values. And I do not care how you look at it. That is the truth of any business. Ultimately, it is your true, deep core values which make it win or fail.
Totally.
So for us, we choose to run community-driven business, which means that we rent a building, people come and stand at our building, and we do the level best to give the people the conduits for them to promote themselves, to make themselves successful. We reinvest all of our profits back into our business. Everything that we need to reinvest, we do so. And we keep putting it back in and putting back into the community. You see, for me, the gauge for me is to see the people who are really our customers, but our community. The real reward is to see them succeed. And that is within my core value and in my partner, Liz Clark's core value. And so that is all that I need to say about our business, because that is how it operates. It will not be for everybody. It will be almost diametrically opposed to a lot of people's core value. They can't understand that you get people who will invest 14 hours a day sometimes of their life hours into a business that the ultimate goal is not to fill the bank up with cash, which won't be theirs when they're dead anyway. It'll be there somebody else's.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that. What I was probing at was the fact that, so for example, as an individual, let's say I spend all day on social media, whereas, you know, part of the kind of philosophy and ethos of Lizian events, and obviously I've done countless events with you, and which were fantastic, and everybody shares everyone's posts, you know what I mean? So it's not just, I'm not just out for myself. You know, if somebody else is part of that community, then I will share that post. And there seems to be a real, I don't know if you found this yourself, Ian, but people will like things, and it's just a second, less than a second. Why don't you just share it? So I think that's what's different with your organisation.
Well, I think of the 100+ people who work with us on a regular basis. I think about 60% of those people are proactive with sharing, and that's a really quite a high number. If we could get that number up to 80%, then they would be in a position where they would attend a show and they would not be able to move for visitors to the show, because because it's a ripple effect. It's what, if you understand what organic reach is. The organic reach is when you get other people to share with their friends, and their friends share the information with their friends. Organic reach. There's no more powerful way to promote anything. You can forget advertising, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Newspapers, doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Totally. All of it's gone. You need to have people together. Now, I believe that modern business, Dr. Don Harradine confirms and agrees with me. He's a lecturer in economics and accountancy at Nottingham University. He knows his stuff. He really does know his stuff. Excuse me for one moment. He is convinced, if you listen to our Money Talks podcast that we did on our Lizian Events News, Don was gracious enough to give 6 talks about money. He would normally charge £800,000 to give those 1 hour lectures. There's a dynamite amount of information there. But he believes that modern businesses will not be about profit, it'll be about sharing. And I agree with him. And to me, to encourage or get people to share your work, as you know, is the devil's own job. It's easier to drag an alcoholic out of a brewery than get people to share your information.
I really get it.
But the point is, you have to keep knocking on the door. You have to keep telling people, if you do this, this will happen. Eventually, it happens. I mean, if I say to you, but is it my intention and Liz's intention when we get to 65 to hand over our business to somebody, we don't know who it is, and just say, here's half of it, you give us the other half. That's where we want to be, because then somebody else will profit from our business. But the key is you have to give people a message, and they have to have belief in that message. And I have to be honest with myself and know that a lot of people don't believe the message we're offering. And I can understand why they're not offering it, and they're not accepting it. But in time, it will take time. Then agree. I mean, we've fallen out with a lot of people, Darren. I mean, for example, we've lost friends because we've stuck by those statute rules, the foundational rules of our business. But if we broke them, then we've ruined what we started. So if you are going to encourage people to share your information, I mean, you talk to me, I'll give you an example of how it all works, how the minuati of people's minds works. Somebody approached me recently and said, could you review a book? And I said, of course I'll review the book, no problem whatsoever. Well, if you would have thought, if you were going to expect me to give at least 6 to 7 hours of my time to read the book, which is not what George Orwell did when he used to review books. He used to read the first page and the back page, and that's how he used to do the book reviews. So I have to read the whole of the book. So here's the rub. I was unexpected to buy it. Well, with the greatest respect to anybody, you can't expect people to give their life hours and promote a book if you're not prepared to put your hand in the pocket for something that's cost you £3 to print, my dear friend. And but people are mean. People don't see the whole picture. And you know, for me, I think that okay, it is only a click. And it's more than a click. If they choose to share something, to put a comment on the share, that gives it more impact and it's more generous. And, you know, if they decided that they were going to share something of somebody's once a day, just once a day, for 7 days a week, that would actually have an impact on their true inner being, because they're actually giving something for nothing. They're sharing and helping another human being to prosper, and they're helping another human being to probably benefit their life, to put some food on their children's table, to make sure the child has proper clothes and things of that nature. I mean, I'm going to the extreme there, I understand that. But to share, to be in a community that shares, is actually opposed to the truth that we see, Darren. Because I think that this world at the moment, we've been through a shock, a catastrophic, a tsunami of shockwave of decimation, and we haven't even seen the wreckage yet. We will see when this is we come out of it. But the point is this: we are seeing people who are not rationally thinking, with people going all over the place with their thoughts. What the world needs, the world truly needs, just like that box of chocolate, what the world needs. I'll tell you what it needs happiness, it needs smiles, it needs giving, it needs sharing, and it needs generosity. And you mark my words, to people who are doing that, they're going to be the winners long term.
Fantastic. I mean, we're nearly at time, but are you okay for like 5-10 minutes, Ian?
Of course I am. Of course I am.
We can spin over if everyone's happy to do that. I think you're right, and I think it is generally, that's what's come out for me. It's about connectivity. People just feel disconnected, they feel disassociated, and I think from when lockdown first came out, I mean, obviously we're freelance, self-employed, so it didn't affect us in terms of having to still work and stuff. But I think a lot of people that were still getting furloughed and getting paid, there was a bit of a novelty factor. But I think as time's gone on, you know, a lot of people I spoke to, they're just now, the apathy, you know, the kind of, they're worn out, they're worn down, they've, you know, the goodwill's run out. And I think you're exactly right. Said.
Very much so, but not only that, Darren. You know the feeling when you've been on a holiday, you know you've been to the States for a month and you've had a really nice time. You're sitting on the bird coming back home, and it's rabbit. You know you've got this rabbit headlight situation. When you land and go back to work, it takes you like a week and a half before you get back into gear, and you realise that after the month, so many things have changed. You know, Jack from the men's department, he's left off with Chloe from the underwear department. Somebody else has died. X has just won the lotto. Yeah, the world hasn't stood still because you've been away on that holiday.
It's true. Yeah,
we've just had, at the very minimum now, 14 months of it. That people are going to go back to whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I haven't got the answers. People are going to go back to something that is completely forgotten, changed. The wheel of industry's got to start again. What a situation, goodness me. But anybody like yourself, and like some of the good people who are watching us now, who have been industrious, who have made sure that they get up in the morning, made sure that they've done the right thing, learned a new skill, learned how to use their Final Cut Pro, or how to use their phone, or whatever it is, those people are now at an advantage over the people who sadly have not chosen to take advantage of this, if you like, holiday. Now, I'm not saying it's the most terrible tragedy, but they're not. People have not taken advantage of it. Simple as that.
No, I totally get it, and I think, like for myself, you know, whereas I would pay someone to do videos and to do show reels and stuff like that, whereas, you know, I used to look at you, because obviously you're very, very, very proficient at it, been doing it a long time, and I'd look at you, and it was like you were spinning straw into gold, you know. But I wouldn't say I'm on your level, but just in terms of lockdown, I made the commitment to learn something, you know.
Well, can I come back to that? Because I did elucidate to this earlier on. I think that people spend too much time thinking they've got to be the best rather than just get it out there. Don't think, do it, get it out there. And it's like, we don't know what is going to happen in the future to us. But I think it's really important if you demonstrate strength, fortitude, you demonstrate that you can walk with your head up high, I think you're giving yourself an advantage. And I think a lot of people are so tied up with the darkness of what's happened, they're not seeing that actually there's a lot of light out there. There's a lot of inspiration. And I'm not just talking about the health professionals who have if you like, risked their life and done all the things that they've done. But I'm talking about the people who have silently gone round to see their granny and cleaned the house and, you know, gone through this terrible situation where, you know, they've had to see their granny naked while they've bathed them and do all these things that carers have done in the past. You know, all of this has completely changed. There's a lot of people going to learn an immense amount from this situation. And of course, sadly, they're going to people aren't. But it's happiness we want. They want to find places where there's happiness. You know, go and get yourself some laughing gas.
Well, Kay's just posted one of the things that she taught herself was to use angle grinders and drills.
I like it.
Good practical skill, Kay.
I like that. Well done. I've got some work on my truck that could be sorted out with a nice angle grinder. Come round here.
And then Claire's just put, she's done 2 courses while on furlough.
Yes. Yeah. You see, you can advantage yourself and keep your mind occupied. I mean, that's what people used to say, oh, keep your mind occupied. I mean, we have these wonderful tools all around us. We have so many things you want to do. And what people want to do is just sit there playing with their app, don't they? Pokemon 2021. Instead of doing something that's, I mean, in this last year, we completely and utterly revamped our garden. We've now got a very large vegetable area. We've got a beautiful lawn. All the sheds are all up and running. We've got the whole of our upstairs has been revamped. This studio has been built and pretty good. I think. What do you think to the sound quality? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's perfect.
So, you know, we've achieved a great deal, and Liz has got her online Lizian shop, which is looking pretty good. We've completely revamped our little business into a mini catalogue crystals and mineral business over in Nottingham, and you know, and the whole of that market where we have that little business, it's been decimated. Nobody's bothered to turn up or anything. They've wasted the opportunity just to drive into town. They're legally allowed to do it and do something.
Do you just talk about some of the products? Because I'll just put a bit of a there's a website and stuff how people can connect with you. Just talk about some of the products that you sell.
Angels.
It's crystals and all that sort of things, isn't it?
Pieces of copper, and I'm going to get in big trouble in here. Anything that's made out of minerals and crystals. There's esoterical people who like to collect things like that, and there are people who also like to collect minerals, geological specimens. So
how can they look at those products in? Is that on the Lizian?
Sorry, Dee.
Yeah, how can they sort of look at those products? Is that on your website?
Well, if you come to Facebook tomorrow night, and Liz is doing a Lizian shop live from 7 o'clock onwards on Lizian crystals and incense shop. Sign up and have a look. You'd find it very, very interesting. If you put Lizian onto any search engine, we are absolutely at the top. Lizian shop.
That was straight in, wasn't it, for the plug?
Yeah, it's straight in. We're absolutely. It's like if you put Ian Timothy onto any search engine, there I am. I don't know why I should be, but I am. But so yes, contact us easy. Just Lizian and Liz and Ian, Liz and Ian, Lizian. It doesn't work the other way around. I wanted it to, but it doesn't.
So this is 7 o'clock. 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Lizian shop live.
That's it, and it'll be really interesting because you'll get all sorts of anecdotes of all of the years that Liz has worked and all of the crazy people that she's met and some of the most wonderful people. We have been so privileged over the last 16 or 17 years, Darren. We've met some much fantastic people. We've had people who have helped us and people who have guided us, and we've had people who have crucified us and people who've ripped us off, and we've had just great parties, and we the balance of things is it's 99% happy and 1% disastrophe, and who cares? That's got to be good, hasn't it? Life is good. Every single, this is the cliche, isn't it? We're only here once. There's no second chance, etc., etc. But the point about it is, you can either choose to be happy, you can choose to be happy, or you can choose to be unhappy. And let me tell you, people, I know from absolute experience that there's only one piece of knowledge I know for certain. It is easier to choose to be happy than to decide to be miserable, do things in the wrong way, groan and moan about everything. That is hard work, because the legacy that leaves with you, having those mindsets, is with you for ages. And if you do them for long enough, Darren will tell you a bit more about this. You do them for long enough, you're locked into that forever. But if you're happy, somebody said to me, nobody can be as happy as you. And I said, why not? Only in your perception.
Yeah. Energy goes where attention flows, as I say.
It does. So get yourself a guardian angel.
I know it's a bit of a $1 million question, but when can we expect to have another show? What's your plans?
Okay. The shows. Fortunately for us, we have got 3 absolutely fantastic venues. They are purpose-built venues, and the management of those venues: Lincolnshire Showground, Newark Showground and Staffordshire Showground are absolutely consummate professionals. They are fantastic. You know, they're able to organise national, you know, the yearly agricultural shows where 100,000 people come through. So our shows are not very difficult. We've got beautiful buildings, purpose built. We already have the agreement with SAG and Sage about how our shows are going to run with proper social distancing, and because we've got big venues, there is space we can do that. We are going to run them as markets, because to run them as, if you like, social events, I think may be difficult. I certainly think they're going to be difficult for the next 2 years. I do not think that we will see a major change to the way that government asks us to work on social distancing. I think that whilst we will have a great deal of freedom in the coming months, I do believe that. I do believe, whether you're pro or against the vaccine, I think that it's going to be used as leverage for government to open the doors, because they cannot afford to continue like this, and they know society's got to start again. And I think what will happen is, my feeling is, we're gauged up. If you go onto our website, all of the dates that we had for the 2021 calendar are still alive and well, and we're still actively promoting those shows. And as the time bomb ticks ways and the government say we can't do them, then we just cross the calendar off. So our next one that I think will be June. I do believe we will be able to run the Lincolnshire market in June. I do believe that that will happen. If it doesn't, well, we can weather that storm and we'll move on to later in the year. But we certainly will do some shows this year. We have the most positive and fantastic amount of people who immediately want to stand with us. I know for Lincoln we could easily get 100 people like that who would come and stand with us. We're going to give them concessions on the table prices. We're going to make it really advantageous for them to come and make some money back. We'll give them everything we possibly can in every way, shape or form by giving them very competitive prices for them to stand. We will go hell to leather to promote the shows, and we'll encourage people who stand with us to do it. We've got an 8,200 and something live and validated emailing list, very active. You know about this. We've have about 27% people open those, so it's very vibrant and live. And the questionnaires that we've sent out, they are so, all of the people who are our visitors, they are so eager to come back to us, because they saw what we did in September when we ran a market, and it was superb. It was well followed. We followed all the regulations, massive space, absolutely wonderful. And the community who stood at that show, they were just brilliant. They followed they did absolutely everything they possibly could to make it a success, and it was a success. So the answer is, I think June. We might get away with the one in March. We might get away with it, but don't think when I say get away with, so I'm like taking a chance. But we will do absolutely everything we possibly can to make it work. We'll bring the community back together, and we will reinvest. I give you my word, we will reinvest every single penny of every profit that we make back in to get our shows back working again, and to promote and make it work, because to give is magical. You know, sharing is caring, and that's the way it's got to be.
Fantastic. Kay Adams is my good friend, known as many years. She says I should see the Lincolnshire show on the WI stand. So she's in charge of the Women's Institute stand.
Wonderful. And I hope she enjoyed it. I think, you know, to me, never has been a time to perhaps reconcile your mind, make the changes that you have to make, agree that you get some things wrong, if you possibly can, broach broken friendships, put them back together, because, you know, we've all seen now just how difficult life can be.
Absolutely.
And if ever there was an opportunity for all of us to heal wounds, come back together and really work to the future, now is the time. You know, you see, we're not like after the Second World War, Darren, where after the Second World War we had a decimated country. You know, buildings needed rebuilding. We're not in that. We're not in a Hiroshima. We're in a place where all the structure's there, and people are damaged and highly affected by what's happened to them. A lot of people are very, very worried. I believe there'll be two factions. I think there'll be people who will just go out, get on with their life as if nothing's happened, and then you'll have other people who will be terrified of contracting disease or dying seriously damaged. Sneeze will worry them to death. They'll still be worried about contact and goodness knows what else long after it's all over, and they are damaged, and we need to help them, and we need to show them and demonstrate to them that they are safe. I'm certain of that.
Fantastic. And then just in closing, case put hold out the olive branch. It's important. And then
so true. Okay, I wish I'd stolen that from you. I'm going to write it down now. Write an article about
it. Just put amazing weekends. Can't wait for it to start again.
And Rick and Claire contribute incredibly to the work that we do. And without the people who stand, it wouldn't happen. And we will continue to work for as long as we possibly can to bring people together to share their knowledge and their wisdom and their understanding to be able to help people. And that isn't some form of romantic illusion or something. It is actually what I believe people are capable of doing. The human being, the key to the human being is to nurture and care. What do you do to a child? When a child's born, you nurture them. They're helpless. And then they go to school and they move on, and it's learning. And at some marker, perhaps in their early 20s or whatever, people stop learning and they think they know everything, but they don't. I never stopped learning. I can remember we came back from TEDx. That Sunday was just magnanimous. It was a beautiful Sunday because, that Saturday, because how it worked was Dee always drives down the motorway and stops at Cockfosters, which is a tube station, parks the car there, and then we get on the tube and go, and then something miraculous happened. I wanted to go to the loo, so did Dee, whatever. We didn't have any change for the loos to get into the loos. And Dee said to this guy who was like somebody who was working in the underground, said, "Can I have some change, please? Can't get into the loo." And he just stood up and he said, "No problem." And he came out of his kiosk and got his key and let us in.
Yeah.
And just that little moment just made the whole. And then we got into London. We were right in at the Barbican, and it was completely empty, wasn't it, Dee? Right, and it was just beautiful. And then you gave the performance of a lifetime. It was stunning. But it was, Darren, because it's an irrevocable truth that you had to all of those fine speakers. You were the only person who had a standing ovation, and you did. So we had all of that buzz coming back, and got on the tube, and then we got into the car and drove back. And on the way back, you just knew it was a special day. It was a special memory. But what I'm coming to is this. For that to have happened, there were many, many people at TED and all the TEDx people and the people who did the filming and all the organising, which was immense. It was immense. They had put all that together to do something for the goodness of humankind and for information, and they didn't get any money for it and whatever, and they left buzzes with everybody who they enabled to stand on that stage that day, and it was wonderful. And that is what the human being is capable of, to give and to help and to design a future for people and to help people prosper and be happy. How can there possibly be a better ethic to have in your spirit and your soul?
Part of us swim by, and okay, just a small act of kindness makes us smile.
Okay, absolutely, it does.
Anyone got any final thoughts and final questions for Ian before we begin to wrap it up? Anything that you want to say? So I think you'd agree. I think Ian's, again, one of my boys is we're closest friend. In terms of knowing him, it must be 20. Is it 20 years, Ian?
I wouldn't like to admit to anything, Darren. about 20 years, my friend.
My mum, obviously, I've lost my mum, but everyone. But my mum used to call us like partners in crime, didn't she? Like naughty boys.
Yeah, your mum said to me one day, if you weren't in entertainment, you'd be criminals.
Yeah, the police, you'd be criminal.
Probably would be, actually. But you can't black banks anymore, though, can you?
No, not at all.
Well, I thank anybody who spent the time listening to my words today. And if you have a God bless you all. And if you have a happiness, follow your life, because goodness me, it runs out so quickly. Enjoy your life, love your family, love your children, love absolutely everybody that you possibly can. And as Kay says, hand out that olive branch, because my goodness, you'll regret it if you don't. And that's my final words to you all.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure as always. And
you, thank you.
You're welcome. So thanks very much for watching, guys, this week. We've spilled over, but I think it's definitely worth it. Next week, my guest was a friend of both Ian and I, is Peter Wall. Now, Peter
very,
Wall,
very good. Don't look into his eyes.
So Peter Wall is a hypnotist, not unlike myself and Ian. And he's the UK's top man in past life regression. And he trains people in hypnosis. And he's going to be basically doing some hocus pocus, get your hands stuck together.
Yeah, get trained, get Peter Walled.
So yeah, looking forward to next week, 8 p.m.
It'll be smashing. Or should we watch?
Yeah, it's worth watching. Ace and Issa, you jumped on a bit late, but you can rewatch it. But I'll send you a message. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Again, this is just something that I'm very passionate about. It's a platform for people to bring their. It's not about me. I'm not sort of plugging what I'm doing. I've got other things on, but it's not a platform about me. It's about you guys. So that's why I make it very much that everyone gets an opportunity to push what they're doing and contribute and share. So yeah, 3, 2, 1, you're under, Kay. I did that once with an inspector at Derby. So there's another story.
A bit like the man at the show one day tapped you on the shoulder and was hypnotised in front of 160 people. It was magic.
There was justice, and the guy says, "You can't hypnotise my brother-in-law. He's old as nails." So I went. Yes. I was quite proud of that handshake induction.
Never put on a live hypno show when all of the audience are drunk, Darren, because it doesn't work and you end up looking very silly.
Absolutely.
Me.
Still for a little bit here, I'll talk to you afterwards. But
okay, thank you all.
Guys, you have a great week. Be careful, and hopefully see you next week, 8 p.m. Wednesday, Darren Stanton Live.
Thank you for your time.